Welcome, everyone, and thank you for attending this masterclass. The topic, future of warehouse management system, what every leader needs to know about the next era of operation. I'm your host. My name is Sebastien Bouthillette. I'm the founder, managing director, and CTO of 3D Logistics. Started my career in aerospace, where I participated in building flight simulation for a while, and then moved on to consulting and project management in the enterprise transformation or digital transformation realm, as well as supply chain optimization. And throughout those years, a couple of things stuck with me, one of which was how complicated a lot of the enterprise software are. And I'm not convinced that it's always in the best interest of companies or of people. The other thing is it's usually very text heavy and often structured more or less like an Excel spreadsheet, if you will, where there's information packed all over the screen, and not a lot of visual elements that would allow you to properly do your job. And then last but not least, often the people have to adapt to the technology that's been designed. And I think in 2025, it has to be the other way around. There's no reason anymore why we can't do that, especially now with AI. There's a lot of doors that have been opened. I think a lot of barriers have been shattered. So I think now is the time to actually flip the script and make software for the people and make their life easier. So without further ado, let's start. Here's our agenda. Very quickly go through a quick evolution of the WMS, the tech stack tetralogy, categories and tiers, WMS feature comparison, the future of WMS, which is what we're here for, a conclusion, and the appendix, which is our WMS decision checklist. Probably won't go through the checklist together, but for those attending, it will be part of the deck and document that you will receive. So the evolution of the WMS, I went back to the 70s, where back then we weren't really talking about warehouse management system, but we were more talking about inventory. So it's a bit of a stretch putting 70s and 80s as the beginning of warehouse management system, but obviously people have needs for managing warehouses, but back then it was more inventory management. And what really pushed what was the driver for in that era, if you will, to get systems in place, or what got systems moving to evolve was the barcode. So the barcode actually was quite a feat in the 70s and 80s. It allowed for a lot of optimization and accelerating and eliminating, if you will, the taking note by hands and whatnot. So I call this era the record keeping era. In the 90s and the 2000s, obviously, computers were pretty much now mainstream. We were all now part of the era where we all had a computer at home, and we started optimizing tasks with our own computers at home, but also in the office. This is where computers were put to use to optimize the pick, pack, and ship operations, organize waves for the picking, and the whole RF radio, barcode scanning, and so on and so forth. So we went from basically having a record-keeping system where we would know where our inventory was, to now we have a system where we can actually tell people what to do. And this is why I call this one, or this specific era, labor directing. And the 2010 to today, well, We've all heard about cloud now. AI is everywhere, and which now basically allows us to do proper orchestration and really move to the next level and the next the next level of what's possible with warehouse management systems. So now we're going to talk a lot more about warehouse management system as orchestrating different tasks, leveraging AI to bring or democratize some of the very advanced feature that were not available to now until now into the maybe smaller packages or available to small and medium-sized businesses. And that's why I call that one the optimization engine. So really now WMS, it is a true optimization engine for people operating warehouse and distribution center, if obviously configured properly and integrated properly with the rest of your enterprise system. The tetralogy, making reference to the trilogy, but I put another system in there, which is an IMS, which we don't really use that acronym anymore, but you'll see where I'm going with this in the next slide. So there's often a bit of confusion in terms of what each of these systems do, where where do their areas of responsibility start, where do they end. So I thought I would just quickly put it down in clear to make it obvious to everyone, and then focus on the WMS part. So ERP, or enterprise resource planning, which now is something everybody knows or has heard the acronym. Really usually more focused on financial and business control. I put system of record there as well because it's often the system in which we will consider the single source of truth, if you will, not only for financial and business control, but oftentimes for other informations as well. I put IMS next to it as inventory management system, and the red square around is really even though IMS is a thing, nowadays it's actually fairly rare that those systems are separate, meaning inventory management, it's kind of assumed that it is part of the ERP. And then I put the little disc there where IMS is basically responsible for stock recording and counting. Now, I know there's IMS or software that are selling inventory management system will add other functionalities, still call it an IMS, or on the opposite or on the other side, call it a WMS. We'll see in the next couple of animation here where that goes. MRP, I put that one there only because it actually touches inventory and material, not necessarily doesn't necessarily have anything directly to do with our conversation today, but just because it was involved with inventory and material. MRP is basically your production or manufacturing brain, if you will, where it will be responsible to schedule and plan for the material you need as per your production or manufacturing schedule. So just thought I would put that here. And then our famous WMS, which is really responsible for the execution part. So when you think about movement, stock movement, we're really now in the realm of WMS. So I highlighted there system directed put away, task interleaving, optimized pick pat. So when we're talking about kitting or real-time location, now we're really talking about WMS and key functions and tasks that is under the responsibility of WMS. So again, just to keep it simple and take a bit of a step back to look at the whole here and what different systems should really be doing and nailing down the nomenclature. So if your system doesn't direct the work and optimize pick path or pick pack ship, it's an inventory system and not a warehouse management system. I'm making it a point of saying it because in software vendor often call their system warehouse management system, and while there's nothing wrong with doing that, it's a little bit misleading because they don't necessarily have warehouse management functionality in that they don't direct the work or optimize path, or not necessarily concerned with pick, pack, and ship. And just thought I would put that out here. Categories and tiers. So I'm going to go through the enterprise system category and tiers, and then show you how that applies as well for WMS. So for those of you who have experience with enterprise software, this is probably nothing new, but enterprise software or business platform are usually broken down or divided into 3 tiers. Tier number 3 is usually for the smaller business, smaller enterprise. At that size business, we're usually less talking about ERP and more talking about a finance and accounting system. They may or not have inventory module as part of their packages. I know some of them are working on some or adding some inventory capability, but usually in the tier 3 category, inventory management is either very basic or just not there. And then if you have MRP or WMS requirement, then you're basically forced to move into tier 2. And I mean, chances are you're probably not a small business anymore. You're probably more of a medium-sized business. So in the tier 2, we're looking at more integrated platform with a lot more capabilities. There's really bridging the gap between just the accounting system and other functions like production, like inventory management. So I put a couple of examples there: NetSuite, Epicor, SAP Business One, to mention a few of them. Most of them, if not all of them that's on this list, have proper and in some cases very sophisticated inventory modules and MRP module, and as well as production module. In terms of WMS, some of them have WMS built in, or they have a module available, which is basically part of the suite or the platform that you can turn on and off. Software like NetSuite, for example, they have it as part of their core ERP. Some of them it's an add-on. Anyway, those WMS are usually good for mid-sized companies with requirements that are pretty standard. Just a simple pick, pack, ship. That will actually work. But as soon as you start either increasing the volume, or you get into maybe more of a 3PL, or if there's a bit of an assembly component or kitting, again, depending on the volume, you might actually run out of power, if you will, from using those WMS. Not taking anything away. Often they actually are able to support your operation far longer than what we had originally planned, but they do have limitation, and this is why there are third-party modules, third-party software that have been developed that will either integrate, piggyback onto these different WMS that are part of the tier 2 software. Software like RF Smart, Softion, Corber. Corber is maybe more of a tier 1, but they do have some functionality available that would be compatible with tier 2. And what I mean by compatible, I mean affordable. And then the tier 1, we're really talking now enterprise level. We're talking Amazon would be the extreme example, where now we're, if you're a warehouse and distribution company, and this is your main areas of activity, you'll look at platform like SAP S/4HANA, Oracle Fusion, Microsoft Dynamic, finance and supply chain management. Well, in the case specifically of Amazon, even those software in terms of WMS capabilities would probably fall a little bit short, and they would probably fall back onto niche and best of breed application like Manhattan Warehouse Management or Blue Yonder. Again, SAP S/4HANA's WMS, extremely powerful, will probably, most enterprise will never see the end of it, or exceed what the software is capable of doing. But in cases like Amazon, for example, which is probably the most one of the most extreme case, or that pushes the WMS functionality to its limit, even that package or that module from SAP S/4HANA is not enough, and they have to look into best of breed modules or software. System selection is extremely strategic. This is something that we shouldn't be taken lightly. It's a process, and I think it's important that proper time is allocated to noting down requirements, and doing any sort of architecture or schematic you need to do, because you want to ensure that you're going to have this software for the long term, and it's going to accommodate today's requirement, but more importantly, tomorrow's requirements. WMS feature comparison, mid-market versus enterprise grade. So tier 2 and tier 1 WMS, how do they compare in terms of functionality? I'm not going to go through all of the text here. There's a lot. I hesitated a bit before putting all of this information, but I thought we're going to give you guys the deck after the meeting. So I decided that having a bit more information than less was probably the better option. So if we look at the different inbound operations and functionality, we're talking about appointment scheduling, managing dock, and making sure there's no conflict and there's availability for a truck to unload. ASN, or advanced ship notice, receiving and validation, cross-docking, directed put away, and QC and quarantine. So those are usually your main functionalities in terms of inbound. As you can see, mid-market does basically the essential, receiving, validation, quality control. It's not very often that, let's say, smaller business have cross-docking requirement. They don't necessarily have a need for directed put away, even though I think it would be very helpful for them to have something like this. And appointment scheduling, they're just not big enough that they have to deal with conflicts at the dock and complicated scheduling for deliveries. And obviously, enterprise grade WMS have all of those features and functionality native, if you will, in their WMS. In terms of outbound operation, wave management, picking, cartonization, directed picking, kitting and value-added services, packing and labeling, and rate shopping. In the mid-market, again, focusing on the essential wave management picking strategies. Cartonization is, letting the system tell you what boxes is the best for what you're trying to ship. Again, not necessarily something that's available in the mid-market software packages. Same thing for the directed picking. And in terms of value-added services, often what will happen is these companies will look into using sometimes the production or manufacturing module that they might have in their ERP to fulfill those tasks. And then packing and labeling and rate shopping, this is usually pretty standard. So again, enterprise, no question about it. All of this is stock standard. In terms of mid-market, I think, again, the directed picking is something that now we should be able to include in there, but not necessarily available yet. And then labor and resource management. This is not something that you will have in mid-market. Labor management system, we're talking about employee performance, shift. Then we got yard management. Again, the size of the mid-market businesses doesn't warrant yard management. Task interleaving is something that I think would make sense for smaller businesses as well. So here we're talking about, let's say, doing cycle count as you're doing picking, for example. So trying to optimize the time and making sure nobody's idle, and if somebody's actually going to walk in the warehouse, might as well just give them those tasks to accomplish along the way. This is something I think small and medium-sized businesses could benefit from, but not necessarily something, again, that's available in the mid-market. So if you're in the market for a warehouse management system and you're a smaller operator, I put here, I think, the functions and functionalities which I think you should focus on and prioritize in selecting your WMS. And then I've even put 1, 2, and 3. Reason why I did 1, 2, 3 here, or I prioritize them further, is that there's a lot of savings and efficiency gain to be gained in the outbound operation side. So this is usually where a lot of the savings will come from. So if you have to make a choice or some concession between some of the functionalities, I suggest that you don't make concession on the outbound operation side of things, but maybe more on the inbound and or in this case, labor resource management aspect. Second slide here, we're talking about more inventory management. Yes, there is an overlap between inventory management and warehouse management. Again, here we're more concerned about the movement of inventory. But yeah, so mid-market packages, real-time inventory tracking, cycle counting, lot batch, serial tracking, no problem, expiration date management, all good. Slotting optimization, replenishment, and catch weight management, not so much. It's actually, I don't think there are any mid-market packages that offer slotting optimization. Catch weight is actually very specific and usually reserved for enterprise-grade software. And replenishment, I haven't seen any, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, meaning part of the SMB package for WMS. But another one that I feel is very useful. So when you have picking location that are starting to be a little bit low, having a trigger or a notification to advise you to go and maybe pick up the stock from the overstock location and come and fill the picking location is something I think would be pretty good even for smaller operator. And last but not least, we're talking about integration and technical features. So ERP integration nowadays is pretty much stock standard. Hardware as well, even though there's a little caveat here, hardware support, a lot of the software out there have a requirement to use or are basically forcing users to use specific hardware like the Zebra scanners or Honeywell or Zebra printers, which is okay. I mean, nothing wrong with these products, except for smaller operator, the cost, the acquisition cost of this hardware is often prohibitive. And if they decide to go and buy a few barcode scanner, they'll probably limit themselves to the bare minimum because it's just so expensive that they can only afford to buy a few, which is a little bit sad because it basically limits the implementation or the deployment. But it is what it is. Voice and like the directed picking or robotic integration, not available in the mid-market, but obviously available in enterprise. And again, if you have to make a choice in terms of inventory management, other than catch weight, I think pretty much everything should be on your list of functionalities and features that you would like to have, even as a smaller operator, and ERP and hardware support. It is nowadays stock standard anyway. We're seeing the mid-market WMS closing the gap in between the enterprise features and the mid-market features, obviously leveraging AI and making good stride in trying to democratize some of the functionalities that are only available in the IN package. But enterprise still wins on complexity and automation, which is normal. But I think in the next couple of years, mid-market is going to get pretty close and start offering things that are very, very close to enterprise grade WMS. So what's the future? What does the future have in stock for us in terms of warehouse management? I think the warehouse management is ready for a bit of a transformation. Cloud native solution, AI, and I'm going to talk about digital twin technology combined together are the ingredients basically for I think catching up in a lot of ways to enterprise grade software and actually making those functionality available for growing small and medium-sized businesses. So far we've been using product attributes, sales, and other data points to feed our AI and whatever AI functionalities we're putting into our warehouse management system or other software that we may have. So we train the large language model and then basically connecting it to the backend software and our interface. We're able to do pretty cool stuff nowadays. Cross data that before wasn't necessarily easy to do. You needed a BI person to help you do all of this. Well, now it's become a lot easier to do. But in terms of warehouse management system, there's a whole dimension that's basically missing, and that's the digital twin of your warehouse. So if you think about it, we have all of the attributes of our products. We have all of the attributes, supplier, customer, sales, how often do we sell items. But today we don't necessarily have the information of our warehouse available. And when you make that information available, and what I mean by information, I'm talking about dimensions, I'm talking about positions of the different racks, what's the XY coordinates of a particular bin location, what is the volume of that bin location, what's the maximum weight that you can put in that bit location. You can, what are the different zones in your warehouse? Are there, zones? Are there rules for the different zones? Products, for safety reasons, some product shouldn't be stored next to one another, or so this information now today is manually entered and needs to be manually updated in the system if the system accommodates it, and it's a little bit of a pain. So far, not a lot of software, not a lot of businesses have been doing this. And so what I think is the digital twin technology, where we're able to modelize the warehouse and basically use this data to feed our large language model, and then have AI help us with directed put away or slotting. So slotting basically is a way of optimizing the space in your warehouse, but it's also a way of optimizing the picking. And the way slotting does this is by looking at your sales information, so how often each of the product is being sold, and then it will recommend you, specific location for those items that sell a lot. So instead of receiving something and just putting it where there's a free spot, a free opening, now when you receive, the system can tell you where to put it in the optimal location, so that you don't have to, after the fact, move these items or this material to optimize efficiency or optimize a space. So this is one example. Guided picking as well, when you have the data, the coordinate, the dimensions of the rack, and the where they're positioned, obstacles and machinery and things. It's very easy to then map the path for your person who's doing the picking, and then we can throw in all sorts of other parameter like item weight, item dimensions, and then we can really guide them through a path where, for example, the heaviest part would be picked at the end, and instead of at the beginning, so that you don't have to push the trolley with this heavy part for the whole run. So this is a few examples which I think the digital twin technology enables. And then once you have all of this, then you're basically able to get and something like this and visualize in real time basically what's going on in the warehouse by clicking on a task, by clicking on an employee, see where he's at. You're able to see, if employees have put a warning or a message. So maybe Paul here, as he's doing his picking, he's noticing that something is missing or something needs to be fixed or refilled. I mean, he could put those notes right away and then basically feed this information to the system, and then the system can take action and propose recommendations and notify people based on this information. So with mobile interface or devices like this, again, Paul can go and do his picking run for his order, have an idea of how long it's supposed to take, maybe incite him to try to beat the clock safely, obviously, but things like this become available and not too complicated to actually put together and deploy. So the future of WMS, of course, has an AI component, but not just AI and not just AI driven. I believe it has to be powered by this digital twin I talked about. Otherwise, we're missing a dimension, and we're really shortchanging ourselves, if I could say, because AI only has 2/3 or part of the information that it needs to truly unlock enterprise grade features for small and medium-sized businesses. In conclusion, I think we're at a pivotal moment right now with warehouse management system. As I said, obviously AI plays a big role, and we will see gains from AI itself, though I think we're going to be talking more about incremental gains and not necessarily quantum leaps. However, by combining the digital twin aspect, I think now we've basically closed the gap, and now we have all the possible dimensions that we need, and then we can leverage AI to really, I think, revolutionize the warehouse management system landscape and get really and truly predictive optimization that will help us to organize our warehouse better, optimize space, optimize our task, make our warehouse safer as well. So I think it's a good time, and I think software vendor will have to embrace this digital twin technology in order to deliver enterprise grade and truly democratize the very advanced features and make them available to the small and medium-sized business. And this would be our Q&A. And yeah, so thank you for your time. And if you have any question, now would be the time for the questions. If there are no questions, I'll wish you guys a good rest of the day. And again, thank you for having taken the time to attend our masterclass.